Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mandy and today we're going to talk about the 5 things that I do not miss about public school. If it's your first time here, welcome. Make sure that you hit the like and the subscribe button so you can get all the updates as soon as I post a brand new video. Okay, so let's get into this. Now, I'm going to start with the one that I hate the most because I feel like so many people can probably relate to it, but it is the pickup line. Every school has some kind of pickup line with buses and things like that. The school that my oldest was going to for a while, oh, it was a nightmare. They didn't have a parking lot. So they had like this little round circle and they had maybe 8 to 10 parking spaces for the parents. The rest were over in a lot that was for the teachers. It wasn't for the parents. So you can imagine everything from going to the school plays and, volunteering to pick up was just a nightmare. I hated it. I mean, I hated it with a passion. But every time I had to go there, you had to back in. And as soon as all the kids came out to go either walk home or go catch a bus or go to the pickup line, there were 500 kids in a parking lot and you're afraid to move in the car because you don't know if there's a little one that you can't see. So, oh man, I don't miss that. I hated it. It was just like a ring around the rosy type thing. So that, I'm so glad that I never have to sit in another pickup line. But if that wasn't bad enough, the one that we had in Okinawa, sometimes I would be in that pickup line for more than 30 minutes to pick up my child. And it was one of the schools where the line snaked all the way through the school parking lot and out into the street. So if you got there late, oh, bless your heart, you would be there for probably a half hour, 45 minutes. So I don't miss that at all, at all. Number 2, the lunches. I hated packing lunches. Now, I know it wasn't like a thing that I had to do, but my son just did not really enjoy lunches at the school and he wasn't eating them. So I started packing him a lunch and I honestly thought that it was healthier that way anyway. A lot of the things that were on the school menu were questionable at best, and honestly, I wouldn't eat it either. I mean, I don't blame him. The times that I had actually gone to the school and helped and, volunteered, it was just like, if I'm not going to eat it, I don't expect my child to eat it. That's kind of the rule in my house. If I'm not going to eat it, you're not going to eat it. So I started packing his lunch, but it was one of those things where, I tried really hard on Sunday to make sure that I had 5 packed lunches ready to go. So I just had to throw one in his bag and a drink and a little ice pack and he was good to go. But there were many times where I was either sick or maybe we got really busy, and then the following morning I am throwing things together in a lunchbox and hoping that he has something that he will eat that day. I actually find that it's a little bit cheaper now too because, he's older, so now he just eats a lot of leftovers and that's really great. And if, moms everywhere are just like, yes, please eat the leftovers. He eats the leftovers. I love it. So I actually find that it's a little bit cheaper now. Even though he eats more, he actually eats a lot of the stuff that we already have in leftovers. So that's great. Number 3, rushing. There was so much rushing around with us when it came to homeschool or when it came to public school, because I had at one point where it was at its height was the last year that we public schooled, and my youngest was in preschool and my oldest was in 3rd grade. And it was, for me as a work-at-home parent, I still had my business back then. For me, that was really difficult because I was in and out of the car 6 times a day if they had sports in the afternoon. And that was, I never got any work done. I would sit down, just start a project, and I had to run out the door and pick up a kid or drop off a kid or something because they were in 2 different buildings on opposite sides of the base that we were on. So when it comes down to it, that was just so overwhelming for me. And there was the one thing that really resonated with me was when we started homeschooling. The very first week before we started, I got a call from one of the administrators at the cover school that we use, and she just wanted to wish us a happy homeschooling year and ask us if we had ever done homeschooling before, and I said no, and I was a little bit nervous, like I'm sure some of you have been or are right now. And she said this one thing that I have always remembered, and that was, right now it seems like everything is crazy, but when you start homeschooling, it's like your whole home takes a deep breath and relaxes. And she was right, we did. And that's been probably my favorite thing that anybody has ever said to me. And it was very personal to me, but it was also very, very special too, because I was at my wit's end. I think the day that she called, I was actually rushing around, and I was in my car, and I almost cried because I craved that so much. And now that we're home, we don't constantly run around anymore, and it's just very nice, and it's so much more relaxing. Number 4 is such a pet peeve of mine, the school nurse. Our school nurse was so nice. She really was. She was a lovely lady. However, if a child would sneeze in her direction, she would send him home. And you know, we lived in an area that was very heavily wooded, but the area that we lived in at the time was not our home state, and my husband was military. There were a lot of different trees around at that point. We lived kind of like, the base was actually like carved out in the middle of a national forest. And my child was constantly sneezing and sniffling. He had an allergy to one or more of the trees, and he just wasn't handling that well. You know, he did as well as he could, but the school nurse would constantly send him home. He wouldn't have a fever or any other symptoms. He just would have a runny nose, and sometimes he would sneeze. So they kept sending him home, and it got so bad. It got to the point where I got a note from the school board saying that if my child was home one more day, they would actually hold him back. Because how they did it was, if the nurse sent you home, that counted as an absent day, even if I sent him to school. So you can imagine I had some lovely conversations with the school nurse and the school board at that point, but I was at a loss. They were not going to have it. That was their policy. If a child had the sniffles, they went home. And it's like, you know, I get it on some level, but on another level, he wasn't sick. There was nothing contagious about him. He had allergies, and we had him on all of the things, all of the Claritin and the Allegras and the Benadryls, and nothing would get rid of this allergy for him. It was just the area that we lived in. So now it's so much different. Now, even if he's sick, a lot of times he still does his work. He'll just do it when he feels better during the day. So like if he gets up and says, you know, I really don't feel good, can I have a little time to, you know, take some medicine and go lay down and see if I feel better? And I'm perfectly fine with that. You know, as a migraine sufferer, I totally understand. So there's a lot of grace in that in our house, but he always finds a way to get his work done by the end of the day. And if he doesn't, he will work extra hard the following day to make up for it. He has very, very few absent days now when it comes to the school year, and schooling year-round also helps that as well. So I don't miss having to deal with the school nurse anymore. The last thing, number 5, is the bullies. Oh, the bullies. I know some of you probably understand that. You know, I was bullied really bad in school. We all I think experience it at some point. My son had it for about 3 years solid before we finally pulled him out, and you know, we saw him go from this bright, vibrant, happy child to kind of a kid with a chip on his shoulder. And I've talked about it in other videos and how that kind of played into our decision to homeschooling as well. And once we finally pulled him out of that environment and we got him into more, you know, of a home environment where we were with him all the time, we really saw him flourish, and we saw his personality come back, and now he is, you know, just the happiest kid, and it's great. So I don't miss having to deal with the bullies, and I don't miss having to get phone calls and saying that my kid is upset and he's crying, and you know, I don't miss that at all. So if you made it to the end of the video, tell me, what is the thing that you can't stand about public school the most, or the one thing that you don't miss since you started homeschooling? What has given you that relief that you have craved? I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. Happy homeschooling, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.